and they're just wearing a singlet or a t-shirt, bare arms, shorts, flip-flops. You get the whole thing, don't you? And it just makes me cringe. Right, hello to all rider viewers. Yes, it's the Wednesday Bike Club. So what are we talking about today? Well, now that the lovely weather's here again, and we're going to have, I think, 30 odd degrees this week coming, I wonder how many of you spotted people riding without any protection. So we're going to be talking about, bike clothing, safety clothing. And it's one of those things, I don't know if you're like me, you're riding along, or you're driving along, and you see someone on a motorbike and they're just wearing a singlet or a t-shirt, bare arms, shorts, flip-flops. You get the whole thing, don't you? And it just makes me cringe. And for several reasons. One, because it's, the risk to those people is colossal. Now, I'm not preaching to people that they have to wear safety gear. You make your choices, But in the police, there's a saying that I remember when I did my bike safe course with the police riders. It was something that they offered us because we're part of the firm, if you like. They said, oh yeah, you see the guys without any with nothing on their arms and no protection. So yeah, I said, we call them peelers. I'm not even going to go into that because I'm sure you fully understand what I'm talking about. But there's a couple of things around motorbike equipment, and it stems down really from when you think about what are the most common causes of accidents, particularly against motorbike riders. Yes, there's excessive speed and all the rest of it, and of course, other drivers not seeing you and just treating you like a push bike and running you off the road or running into you. But what it does boil down to is it's that concentration, it's that lack of concentration, and it's that thing when you're riding and you might have something on your mind, whatever it is, you're not concentrating. It's that lack of concentration or loss of concentration, which, because as you know, as riders, we've got to be absolutely on it in terms of observation, because the danger isn't going to avoid us. We need to avoid it, and I think that's the key thing with this. So where am I coming at with motorbike clothing? Now, how many times have you been riding along and you've been hit by a wasp or a bee or a stone's flicked up, whatever it is, from a vehicle in front? And it can come at any point, can't it? You're going through, sort of wooded areas, through country roads where you've got trees over you, and something falls out of a tree, a squirrel throws his nuts at you. And I know it's a flippant point, but that's when you get distracted. It's that thing where something hits you and you think, oh, what's that? Or there's nothing worse than getting a fly up in your lid, is there? But it's that thing of, if you're wearing protective clothing or just some form of jacket or clothing over, and you've got no bare skin on the show, if you don't, something hits you at speed, you're doing 50 miles an hour, that stone is coming towards you at, say, 30 miles an hour. That's an 80 mile an hour impact speed. You're going to know about it. And I think that's one of the key things that people forget about not wearing safety clothing or clothing of any sort when you've got bare skin, is that you're affected by those environmental things like stones and wasps and things, which distracts you and then causes great risk. And that's the thing that always worries me when I see that, but not just the fact that, if you slide off, what's coming off. You've only got one layer of skin. And that's the thing. But I think during the summer months, there's so much of this tech gear out there which is meshed and all the rest of it, which you can do, which allows air through, but it protects you to a certain extent. And of course, yes, you get this situation where the high-tech clothing, it's always more expensive, isn't it? It's like the car that has less kit on it, the racing bit of kit that's less, but it costs you more. And I suppose that's the thing. We end up paying for, to to be safe, I suppose we end up paying more, and I don't think we always get value for money. But it also, what begs that question is, should riding clothing be compulsory? And I'm going to be quite controversial and say it should be. Now, if you go to a track day, even a track day on a car, you cannot have bare skin. You cannot wear a t-shirt. You have to have your skin covered, and that's for a reason, for fire hazard and stuff like that. You cannot have bare skin. So why shouldn't it not be the same thing for motorbikes? And I've always found that odd that we've not done that. We've not gone down that road of saying that you have to wear, or you have to have your skin covered when you're riding a motorcycle. We always seem to make things compulsory, which are sometimes slightly nonsensical, isn't it? And you'd think that the amount of deaths on the road with motorcyclists, I know you could say, okay, wearing protective clothing may not save your life in the same way that a crash helmet would, but I think it would save serious injury. And we know how good modern armour is. You get the ghost armour and all the rest of it. It doesn't have to be big and bulky. And yes, okay, you could say, well, I've got to have a winter outfit, I've got to have a summer outfit. Yes, it does cost money. The bike costs money, but maybe you should factor in more the clothing that you wear, rather than buying the bike with the extra bits on it. So I'm all getting a bit preachy now, but it's even the same thing when I see people riding, and you see it on YouTube, people riding without gloves, and that's one of the most vulnerable parts when you're riding, is your hands, because quite often it's the first thing you put out. When you fall off a bike, you nearly always put your hand out, because you've got no control. You're going, aren't you? And a glove can make so much difference. And decent gloves, sensible gloves are not that expensive, really. I would say to you, I've been buying these gloves now when I go to the auto jumbles now for about 20 quid. And they're armoured on the top, but it's this part that's really critical, that there's enough sort of wear on there that it will take the abrasion. But even if it gives you, I don't know, 5 meters of abrasion resistance on impact, it's got to be better than nothing, isn't it? It's like I liken not going out with any protective clothing now to like getting in a car and not having a seatbelt on. How many times you do that, and it's like if you feel sort of undressed, don't you, without a seatbelt. Now, I'm not going to say I'm the world's greatest in this. I quite often will go out with jeans on. I will wear protective boots and my jacket. And again, that's why I'm not really preaching this. It's, the first thing I do when I get a new jacket, I'll take the back armour out, but I'll leave the elbow and the shoulders in. We're all, there's all degrees of this, isn't there, really? But I just think to go out with nothing on your top. I was out this morning, and I wasn't out early this morning. This is what sort of made me think about this. I wasn't early this morning. I was about 9 o'clock. I was on the road in the car, actually. There's plenty of bikes out today. And somebody went past me. They weren't speeding or anything, but they went past me on a sort of mid-size naked bike with the full, John McClane. What's that film? The John McClane with Bruce Willis film. Singlet on there. And that was it. Nothing else. I think he was wearing shorts as well. And you just think, wow, that the risk to that is extraordinary. You'd only do it once, wouldn't you? You would only do it once. And I just think, I know it can get hot, but there's a way of doing this, isn't there, to make it less uncomfortable. Only put your jacket on when you're ready to ride off. When you haven't got your jacket on, put it in the shade so it's not too hot. You can buy those cooler packs and things like that to keep things cool. Because in the shade, it's relative, isn't it? It's hot out there, you leave it out in the sun, it's going to be hot when you put it on. It's like trying to find a shady bit for your seat, isn't it? But it's that bloody distraction thing that worries me when I see people, and I've been struck by stones and things and all sorts of stuff. and it bloody hurts. And if you know, I can't imagine what they'd be like if you didn't have any sort of clothing on, because I do see people with their sort of, you know, they have one set of motorbike clothing, you get that heavy clothing, and you think, blimey, that maybe that could be a little bit distracting, because it could be uncomfortable. It's like having a seat when you've been on a rifle. You know, I was talking to you about riding for long periods, and you get that itchy backside, didn't you, and all that sort of thing. That's a distraction, isn't it? That stops you concentrating on the hazards and things in front of you. You know, there's a million things that can give you distraction. But I think if you are going to be, and when you think that people that ride just for entertainment or just as a hobby sort of thing, you know, or they just like the time of year, they don't ride during the winter, then you think, well, then just buy the intermediate or winter stuff which you can take the thermal layers out and thin the jacket down. That always seems to work. But a top tip, because there's no real limit on, it's not like crash helmets, is it? There's no real sort of time limit on how long you can keep a jacket for. And I'm still not that convinced about helmets really, but I buy all my clothing, all my bike clothing from Vinted these days. Get it from eBay, it's too expensive, but I get it from Vinted. This came from Vinted. You can get some fantastic stuff. The only problem with buying secondhand stuff, you're not quite sure of the sizing. And if you're buying stuff which is slightly, you know, styled in Italy or made in Italy and whatever it is, tends to come out a little bit thin, you know. So like me, you look like a sort of bag of spuds, you know, trying to get in a too small a bag. But you know, I bought some fantastic, particularly the winter stuff. I bought some fantastic winter stuff for like 10 quid. My favourite jacket, is it a Frank? I can't remember what it's called now. Very Henry something or other. It's a blue coat. Do you know, that is the best coat I've got, and I've had that for now 5, 6, 7 years, and that's been all over the place for me. And when I know where I've got to go up north and it's cold, I can put that on, I have a single layer on underneath, and it is so warm. I'm sure it's about a tenner, you know. But Vinted is a very good place to look for stuff like that. So, yes, what are your thoughts? Winter or one type of jacket for the whole year? Do you have several different for seasons, you know? Do you have spring, summer and autumn? A little bit will do. But God, I just hate seeing people wearing, you know, vests. You see some people with nothing on top, didn't you? You know, you might think you're looking good, but you know, I think most people are looking at you and thinking, oh my God, there's an accident waiting to happen. You know, as you're brushing off the 15 dead wasps stuck in your chest. But yeah, I just find that a distraction. Yeah, when I see people doing that. Oh well. Yeah, so that was today's subject. Yeah, summer biking clothing, and what do you think about that? Or what do you do? Just quickly, those Sofern lights. There is the discount code on those. So just reminding you of that, because they sent me the discount code today. So do look out for those. Great little lights. And the Meteor's still here. I really need to get that the valve check done now. Here's a problem for you that I've had with this, but not a problem, but occasionally the throttle on tick over, you'll get that and sometimes when it gets to the bottom, it'll conk out. I think it's a throttle body. I think it's a common one on these. This has got now 20,000 miles in it. But I'm going to get the valve check done, and I think I'll get them to look at that. I think they get gummed up a little bit, possibly. But if anybody's had experience of the thing just dropping out, particularly when it's cold, I get that. But I did have it more when I was using E10. When I was in France, I could only get E10. But on E5, it does seem to be a little bit better. But yeah, there you go. That's the biking for the day. Right, enjoy this lovely weather. Be careful, be observant, and wear some jackets. All right, take care of yourself, and I'll see you next time. Look after yourself, guys.